Well, I know that there are people concerned with what's happening in America, but understand what our journey teaches us is that after Project 2025 comes Project 2026. And you will have an opportunity to end this national nightmare.
That was House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries ending his more than 8-hour-long marathon speech with a hopeful note for Democrats arguing that Trump's budget bill will help them next year in the midterms. It's a sentiment that's actually shared throughout the party, who feel Trump's massive tax and spending bill will give them an opening and a potentially winning message going into the 2026 midterms and beyond, with a key focus on the bill's cuts to Medicaid. Cameron Kasky and Basil Smikle are back with us. Thanks again for sticking around. Cameron, how would you grade Democrats' messaging on this legislation thus far? And where do you see potential for things to improve, or what would you like to see them double down on?
I really think Democrats need to stop trying to be influencers when they're posting on social media. I think they need to be.
Are you talking about the baseball bat post, Cameron? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, the baseball bat post was so cringe. And listen, I think there's a lot of reasons that Jeffries is not meeting a lot of different moments right now. But in general, I follow a lot of Democrats on social media who are trying to, how do you do fellow kids their way into having popular messaging. And then you see somebody like Brian Schatz from Hawaii, and Brian Schatz is talking like a person to people. Yes. And he's not trying to do the new TikTok dance to try and register new voters. So I think Democrats need to chill, for lack of more effective language, and just talk to people about what's going on. A lot of people I know who are opposed to this bill and do recognize that it's a bad thing, they don't really know exactly what it's doing. They have an idea that this is a large wealth transfer from the poor to the rich. They understand Trump is sort of trying to create a private army here with ICE. They recognize a couple things. But generally speaking, I have heard Democrats speak more about Zohran Mamdani in the past couple weeks than I've heard them speak about the big, beautiful bill.
I don't know. Hakeem Jeffries didn't give an 8-hour speech on the floor of the House about Mamdani. He gave an 8-hour speech about the bill. Now, you can argue that whatever he said about the bill isn't resonating, but I feel like this talking point that like Democrats aren't addressing concerns about the bill feels wrong to me.
Basil, what do you think of the use of the slogan Project 2026? It feels a little bit cringy, I guess, to borrow a roadmap created by your opponent.
Yeah, I know.
That was also like methodically and very carefully created by a sort of coalition of people working behind the scenes ahead of Trump's second term. And at least to my knowledge, there's no real Democratic equivalent of that at the moment. Do you think it's appropriate and effective for them to use that phrase? Is there something else you'd like to see them do?
I don't know that using the exact phrase will be particularly effective. But the second thing you said, I think, is really important to note. Project 2025 didn't just come after a couple of months of, people sitting in a room. There was an intellectual basis for it that academics came together and tried to push through. It was well funded. There were people, if you look at the book, if you look at the document, all of the sponsors of that project, right? That part does need to be replicated on the Democratic side, where you have an intellectual foundation, a financial foundation, something that is going to push that through. So when you talk about the social media influence and the education piece that's important, people actually have to go out into these streets and talk to voters about why this bill or anything else that might come from it and what we're going to do in its place. All of that has to be communicated, and you need a lot of support to do that. So it has to be a far bigger effort. Yes, it has to start today. When is the best time to plant a tree? Yes, 20 years ago and yesterday, right? So you got to do it. But it doesn't have to be based on what the Republicans did. It's got to be something that.
Yeah, but to your plant a tree analogy, some of the that conservative movement, what was in Project 2025, reflected things conservatives have been working on for decades. Decades.
Yeah. So Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had some thoughts that he shared on the Sunday show this morning. Let's listen. And I'm curious if you think you might have a point.
It is a group of Democrats who unfortunately seem to think that poor people are stupid. I don't think poor people are stupid. I think they have agency, and I think to have them register twice a year for these benefits that is not a burden. But these people who want to infantilize the poor and those who need these Medicaid benefits are alarmist.
Does he have an argument that Democrats can be too paternalistic in their messaging sometimes when it comes to their voters?
I personally think that the idea that government services should exist to improve people's quality of life, I don't think that's infantilizing. I think that that is common sense. But the Republicans are going to frame the Democrats as elitist forever. I mean, the Republicans are the party of billionaire elites right now, including the tech billionaire. Remember when the tech billionaires were a problem for the Republicans?
Their voters actually are more dependent on Medicaid than ever before in previous cycles, too. So now they're hitting them.
You see a lot of Republican policies that hurt people very often hurt their voters, but they are very effective at convincing those voters that in one way or another, the party's actually being benevolent. I mean, you see, they're putting together a fund to support the rural hospitals that are going to be closing because of the big, beautiful bill. And it's something that's part of the MAGA playbook. Take something away from people, give them back a smaller and worse version of it.
Actually half of it.
And then act like you just donate it to charity.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about all of this, as we were saying before the break, these Medicaid work requirements are relatively popular, but that's because people don't really understand what goes into them, and they think that maybe it's going to encourage people to get work. There's no evidence of that whatsoever based on the previous pilot programs in Arkansas, for example. They found that lots of people who were working lost their Medicaid because it was so hard to file this paperwork. And I think that's actually kind of relatable, right? Like, I went to fancy schools. My husband has lots of degrees. Figuring out how to do health insurance like through an employer every year is still really damn hard, right? And now you think about all of the administrative barriers that people have to go through to re-up their Medicaid or to prove that they're working. I think that could be quite relatable to people that who want government to work better and are now being told it's your own fault if you don't understand, how to fill out these forms.
I mean, I don't even know how to fill out a W-2.
No, that's right. True. But what gets me is this point about the paternalism. Because when Scalise talks about people sitting on their couch and so on, my guess is that in his mind, he's framing it for some voters to think about another set of people, right? Simone Sanders was talking about that, right? In her piece in the welfare queens that Reagan raised in 1976. There's always been this divide and conquer, particularly with poor white voters against poor African American and Latino voters in this country, right? They're the ones that are on the dole, not us. And that's kind of what he's hitting at. It's the pushing away of, it's not us, it's them.
It's the other freeloaders. You deserve your benefits.
A long-standing playbook in politics.
They love to say it's the illegals, too.
Yeah.
Well,
after this next break, you got to help him figure out how to fill out his W-2.
Yeah, right. You're a tax lawyer too, right? A tax lawyer on the side also. Okay. So Basil Smikle and Cameron Kasky, thank you so much.